Okay, we're on Yud Tessim with days on the bottom. Rav Nachas Kabon. Rav came down to Bavel. Makilin v'chamar alein. He saw that they were lenient regarding meat, kosher meat. So he was machmir. Chad Barnash, Ozal, boy Mishinza, speak to Benunara. He went to sort of rinse his meat in the river. He dropped it. The Ozale, he left for a little bit. Chazar, he came back. Boy Mischina, he wanted to bring, he saw his meat. He thought it was the same piece of meat, wanted to take it back. Amalei Rav Asulacha, you're not allowed to eat it. The no Amar Hi Shataf Nara, because this new piece of meat that you found, the original piece of meat got swept away by the river. And this is a piece of nevela, and it's not a kosher piece of meat. This is this concept of basar shenis alim in ayin, that you can't, since you took your eye off the meat, this might be a different piece of meat. Chad Barnash was a person of a malach b'shuka, was carrying a piece of meat in the market. Toin kufar asur daisa v'chadfei. A bird flew by, grabbed it. V'talakte. The bird threw it on the meat, threw the meat down on the ground. Chazer boy misfit, and then the guy picked it up, thinking it was his piece of meat. Amalei Rav Asulacha. That piece of meat is also for you, because I say that basar the nevela havis ta'ina. The bird initially had a piece of nevela meat in his mouth. When he saw your meat, he dropped it, utlakte, the nazbeahu achrina, and then took your piece of meat instead. So this piece of meat that you found is a piece of nevela meat that was flown in by this bird. That's again the concept of basar shenis alim in ayin. Ginoi shot of zikin. A river washed away some jugs of wine. Also, uvda, this information came, Komi Rav Yitzchak Bar Blazer. The Omar, Yichak min shapi kitratun, niknike. The owners of these jugs had tied special kind of rope to keep them closed. That was like a simon. And then that's like a plumba. Like when we have a piece of meat, you have to have, if it has this, if the two seals,
a seal, yeah.
The two seals are on the piece of meat. That's why kosher airline food is sealed twice, because it's basar shenis alim in ayin. But if it's got two seals, it's considered like this, these seals. Ishtakach b'knishta de buli. Same thing. These things of wine were found in a shul. Also, uvda kamed Rav Yirmiyah, the facts came in front of Rav Yirmiyah. Amar Yitzchak bun Skori. Again, he said that let the artists who had drawn the advertisement on the outside of the bottle come and testify that that's what it is, and then they could drink it. Giditzli shtakach basarte, the gufta. There was a roasted goat that was found on the road to this place called Gufsa. V'tirun, and they permitted this to be eaten. Mishum shnei dvar. Mishum mitzia. Number one, when you find a lost object, you can't always keep it. Sometimes you have to be machriz it. You have to announce it. But we're going to prove that this met the criteria that the Bailim abandoned it, and therefore if you picked it up, you acquired it. Because of kashrus, mishum rov mahalchei drachim. The majority of people here were Jews, and therefore you assume that the meat is kosher because of rov. Mishum mitziyah detani amatzl miyad ha'ari. You save something from a lion, miyad ha'gayis, or let's say there's a army that's tramping through and they have something. Mishuna sayam, or from an ocean, Mishuna sanar from a river, or imistratia gdoila like Tiananmen Square, a big public opening. Mipatia gdoila. In all these cases, hare elu shelo. If you find items in these places, you can keep it. The owners who lost these items have abandoned hope that they can never find it. So this is the issue of Yeush and you making a kinyan. The combination of the two allows you to keep it. Mishum Rav Malchei Drachim, and the issue that most of the people traveling on this road are Jewish. Because otherwise, Mishum Shchitas Nachri, because it could be a goy who shechted the meat. And then in the end, Nishtakach min the base Rabbi, that this goat belonged to the house of Rabbi. Eagle de Guvna, Ishtakach bepundika the Levi, a wheel of cheese. And again, you can't eat cheese made by goyim. This wheel of cheese was found in the hotel of Levi. Itiru, again, they permitted it mishum shnei dvarim because of two reasons. Mishum mitziyu mishum rav malchei drachim. Because of the laws of finding things and the laws of how many people stayed in this hotel. Mishum mitziya tetanya matzam yada gais miyada hari mishuna sagyam mishuna nahar mistratik don mafalti. If you find something in these places, like from a lion, from an ocean, from a river, from a large public space, we say, they shall bailim misyashiman. The bailim have given up hope, and therefore you acquire it. And mishum rov malchei drachim, mishum gvinas nachri. You're not allowed to eat cheese made by a goy, and the majority of the people who stayed in this kingdom were Jews. So therefore, this cheese was permitted. They found out that the cheese belonged to Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi. Rav Mana koimi Rav Yossi. Rav Mana said in front of Rav Yossi, "Va'anan chamin rabbanon demachrisi." But we find that there are chachamim who, even when they find items in these places, they still announce it. What do you mean? If you found it, wouldn't you have kept it? Rav Yuna, your father didn't say this. Elo Amar halavai kad nishkach min piyus v'lana. That if you have a major road and you have little small roads going in towards where the people live, as long as you find it from the road towards the public road, you can keep it. There were chachamim though, when they found things, they were machmir themselves, and they still were machriz them. They still announced it because they didn't want to keep something that didn't belong to them. Mishnah. Behem, you find a live animal. Shenimtzis Yerushalayim v'Migdal Eder. This was a town that was close to Yerushalayim. If you found an animal between the environs of Yerushalayim in this area, and this radius all around in a circle, so it depends. Zacharim, male animals, you have to assume they're oilos, because there are no female oilos. So a male animal is assumed to be an oilo. The kevos, Nikvei zivchei shlomim. The females you assume are shlomim. Because shlomims can be brought from females. Rabbi Yehuda Omer haroy lepsachim kodem l'regel lamed yom. An animal that's found, like a sheep, that's less than a year old, that would be fit to be brought as a korban pesach, and you find it within 30 days of Pesach, you could bring it as a korban pesach. Now, we're talking about somebody who just found an animal. So the din is, you have to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash and offer it as that korban. Now, every korban, you have to bring wine libations, right? Flour and wine, and it costs money. So initially, B'rishonim and Mashkinin es moitzia, achu mevi iman nesachah. They used to take collateral from people. They didn't want to pay. The people who found these items didn't want to pay, but Beis Din forced them by taking collateral. The marshal would go to their house and take something. But then people started, when they would find an animal, they'd run away. They wouldn't pick it up and take it to the Beis HaMikdash. Hiskinu Beis Din, so they made a takana that the wine libations, the expenses for it, should come from the Trumas Alishka, from all the money that was designated for public korbanos. Arav Shimon Zayin Dvar Miskinu Beis Din. The Beis Din at that time made 7 takanas. V'zechad mehem, and the one we just said was one of them. What are the others? Nachmi sheshalach oilasam Medina Sayam. You're allowed to accept a korban from a Gentile. He can only offer an ola. Now, let's say he sent an animal from China. Now, shalachim on nesachim, if he sent along the wine libations along with the animal, craven mishalah, then they use it. However, imlav craven mishal tzibur. If he just sent an animal and the wine libations were needed, the funds for the wine libations would come from the Trumas Alishka. Chen ger shemes, a convert who dies, he has no relatives. V'niach zvachim, he left over animals that could be used for korbanos. So im yesh lo nesachim krev mishalo. If he has the assets for the wine libations, it can be offered. V'im lav krev mishal tzibur. Otherwise, the expense for the wine libations comes from the Trumas Alishka. Udnai Beis Din al kohen gadol shemeis. It's a condition that Beis Din put that a kohen gadol had to bring a mincha every day. Let's say he died. Shetei minchas ukrev mishal tzibur. The funds to offer a new mincha came from the public till. However, Rabbi Yehuda Omer mishal yorshin, the money for that mincha came from the heirs of the kohen gadol who died. Ushleim ha'isa kreva. Now, we'll see there's going to be a discussion in the Gemara. It depends when he dies, because they used to divide it. Half the mincha went in the morning, half of the mincha was offered in the afternoon. So it didn't make a difference. They didn't offer half a mincha. Even if he died in the morning, they would offer a full mincha. They would designate a full mincha, only half was offered. The rest was discarded or burned. And they made a condition, ala melech bala eitzim, shiyu hakohanim neosim behen, that salt and wood, kohanim could benefit from those. For example, let's say the kohanim eat a chatas or an asham, the kohanim could benefit to cook their meat with salt and wood that were donated as well. Valapara, they could make use of the paraduma. Let's say they use their ashes of the paraduma for something else. Say for medicine. The kohanim would not be over me'il if they did. So, right, women would come, deposit money into the box for a pair of birds. so they could be mechaper for being a yoledes. One of the birds flies away or is found to be puzzle. So the supplier of the birds, the vendor who supplied birds to the base of Midrash, it was his responsibility. The first Mandomer holds that the extra bird was bought with funds of tzibur. The woman doesn't have to worry. She put her money in the box and went home back to Tel Aviv. One of the birds flies away when they buy it. Besson will take care of her because they say that the money to buy another one will come from Shel Tzibur. But Rav Yosef that the vendor who supplied the base of Midrash, he's got a good contract. Part of the contract was he has to supply either missing birds or postel-dika birds. Rav Shaya Rabbah, the great Rav Shaya, Armalabah, used to teach that bidmeim shanu. So we said that if a person found an animal wandering around outside Yerushalayim, it has to be makrib. So Rabbi Shaya said he doesn't be makrib that specific animal. They would sell it for money, and with the money they'd buy another animal and offer it as a korban. Oh, excuse me. Rabbi Yochanan said, what do you mean? These are unblemished animals. How could you just go sell them? You got to wait until it gets a mum. Otherwise, you're using the animal and there's meila. So what they did is they looked at the majority. In Rav Scharim, if the majority of the animals were found are oilois, are males, they would offer them these animals themselves as oilois. In Rav Nekevis Ivchei Shlomim. Right? Bein HaShlomim Boim and HaZacharim. Umin HaNekevis. I understand. Just because you find a nekeva or a male, why do you assume that it's an ola? You can bring a shlomim from a male or female. So, Ketzeru Oseh, Motziin L'chulim, he does wait until it gets a mum, and then transfers the money, right, and buys a new animal. And then he'll buy oilers with it. Amar Zira. Kama to us, Amar Tamon. Just that you said before that it's a Tanai Best, new ala Moisarois, Shekirvu oilers, that if there's any excess funds in the Trumas Alishka, they would bring the money they buy oilers. Kenat Marav Hacha, here as well. Tanai Best, new ala Oivdois. That animals that are lost, kirvu oiloi, so it's built into the condition of vessel. On Rav Yosef Rav Yaakov Baracha. Ein ze mezid? How can you be over? Again, here they didn't understand yet that he meant that they should wait until he gets a mum. And how can you be mazid, be over me'ila? So it was built into the Tanai Bezdin, so it's not considered mazid. Initially, when they declared the animal a korban, that's a korban as long as it's not lost. Once it's lost, it would have a status of an ola, no matter what, and therefore you're not doing it b'mezid. You're not violating mila b'mezid. Rav Yasad, the Anatamam, when I was in Bavel, Shamis called Rav Yehuda Shal Shmuel. I heard Rav Yehuda asking Shmuel, Hifri Shikla v'meis, a person gave his matzah shek dead and died. What do you do with it? Arbalei Yipul in the Dafa. It went for it was placed in a box that said Nadavos, and they would buy oilers with that. Now, what about leftover Asirisa Efer Shel Kohen Gadol, if it's been left over? Rav Yochanan Amar Chutza Oisa, divided into Vachakach Mekatsha. and then be mekadosh it. Rish Lakish Amar, no, mekadosh achar כך chutza. First sanctify, then divide it. And Masnisim Pligal Rabbi Yochanan, right? Our Mishnah is in contradiction to Rabbi Yochanan because it says, Makriv mechzo mechza. Hi, what's going on? So what do you do with this? With the remainder of the Atzir Seifa? Because the Mishnah says Makriv mechzo mechza ova, but if it's lost, Pasur lo shekina filu mos yelchul Yamamelech. Rabbi Yochanan said you put it in the Yamamelech. You're not Makriv it. And Masnisa Pligal Reish Lakish. Because Nimtzuf was found, Shnei Chatzoim, 2 halves, that you don't have to re-sanctify it. Craven, you can be makravit. Ushnei Chatzoim Avudin, or let's say 2 lost ones, V'toni la Mechzer Rishon, that the first one could be offered. Mechzer Sheni to Uber Tzurason. We don't need any more because the Kohen Gadol died in the morning. You have to offer one in the afternoon. So one could be offered, and the other one, you wait till apostles belina till the next morning. V'yatz lebeis hasreifa. Apostle Rav Yishmael Damar Isaron Mikadesh. This is like Rav Yishmael. The Omar Yisrael Makadesh, Kishakor Miskarav Tchila Lavoida, depends when a Kohen is first brought to the base of Midrash to ever do an Avoida. He brings a mincha sort of as an inauguration mincha. He also may be Asir Sefer Shalom. V'oivda biyado. Echa Kohen Gadol, v'echa Kohen Ed sha'avdu. So both a Kohen Gadol and a new Kohen Edyoit have to bring the same Asir Seifa. So if he died, if he died before he brought anything, so then when they offered a new one, Avodas and Ksheira. Rabmana boy Meimer, Bo Bayom Shniskarv Tchil Lavoda, the day that he brought the inaugural mincha, or Bo Bayom Nismani as Kohen Gadol, on that day he had been appointed Kohen Gadol. So maybe Shtayim, let's say he's the same Kohen, he brings 2 Asher Seifa, 2 minchas. Achad l'chinucho, one for the fact that he's being inaugurated a Kohen, v'achad l'choves hayom, and one as a Kohen Gadol. Now it says tufine, which is the part of the mincha that's baked. When do you bake it? B'shas havah. You bake it when it's brought. It's not baked early in the morning. When you bring it in the afternoon, you bake it right then. Tufine ve'en b'shachris tufine, and not in the morning. Ay vatanina amiru oisa chavisin lasos chavisin. The person who's appointed to cook this was appointed very early in the morning. So it's not that they waited till the afternoon. Aruchia baracha lasos chav doesn't mean to bake it. It means to make the hot water because they would scald the mincha, the revuka. Tufine, he's baking. Rabbi Yosef b'shem Rav Chanina metagna v'achar kach oifa. They would fry it and then bake it. Sounds like a donut. Rav Acha b'shem Rav Chanina, first oifa, so they would bake it, v'achar kach metag, then fry it. That's what tufine means. Tufine te'afena no. That means bake it when it's almost raw. It means it's a little boiled. Rebbe Omer te'afena noah. You have to do it beautiful. V'dois omer te'afena ribos, bake it many times. But plukta, kihinan plukta. But that argues with the following, that mando omer te'afena na. And the one who says bake it nicely, Commander Omar, that could fit with baking and then frying. Commander Te'afena na is Commander Omar, or could also fit with frying and then baking. Now, Loisov Dover Shemeis, now that when the Kohen Gadol died, where it says, then you have to replace the Asir Sefer. It's not just with the Kohen Gadol, Filu Nitma. The Kohen Gadol became Tomei, can offer the afternoon one. He offered the morning, but he didn't. But he then became Tomei. So we don't need the death of the Kohen Gadol to bring these dinim into play. Afilu nitcha, let's say got a mum, same thing. Davar delay, afilu nitcha mimum. So it's not just death, but it's even a mum. Minala Kohen Gadol shemeis. How do we know that a Kohen Gadol who died, and right now there's no Kohen Gadol that's been appointed to replace him? How do I can prove that the mincha that he has to bring for the afternoon comes from the yorshim? Talmud Loimar, mi banav ya'aseh ota. So I might think, since there's only one afternoon mincha left, it's only a half a mincha, he doesn't have to bring the whole mincha, he can just bring half of it. Talmud Loimar, oisa, kulo amarti. You have to bring the whole mincha. The Rabbi Yudrop. Shimon Omer, eina ba'al mishal tzibur. It doesn't come from the yorship. It comes from the public funds, the Trumas Alishka. Shenemar chak olam, mi shabris krusala. Khalil Toktar, Khalil Lagtara. The bris was made with Klal Yisrael, so it comes from Klal Yisrael, which is from the Trumas Alishka. Then it says Kohen Gadol Shemeis. Rav Baba Mamal Boy Machal for Shita Reb Shimon. It seems to be contradictory to the Shita of Reb Shimon. Why? Because there it said Tamon Mishal Yorshim. There, Reb Shimon said it comes from the heirs. V'achamer Mishal Tzipur. Here he says it comes from the Tzipur. So which is it? Amr of Chia Barba. V'loya Asu Masha. He's asking good. So Asar of Yaakov Bar Acha Rav Obishem Rav Yechnon that Dvar Torah Hu Shetei Ba Minat Tzipur. Minat Torah really it should come from communal funds. But it costs a lot of money. In the Bayesheni, Kiva Dechaki to commit Chalishka. Because there were so many, remember, in the first Beis HaMikdash, there were 18 Kohanim Gedolim in the 400 years. In the second Beis HaMikdash, there were over 300. Because people bought the office of the Kohen Gadol. They weren't tzaddikim. So many people, they would go into the Kodesh Kadoshim and die. Right? Kiva Dechaki to Pasha, Bayiskinu, Shadeba, Mitrumas Alishka. Initially, it would come from the yorship, but after they saw that it was problematic, they went back and they donated from the Trumas Alishka. Rav Yisrael Rav Yechon boy, Ma'u Shlema b'Shachros u Shlema ben Arbayim. Ma'u Shlema b'Shachros. What does it mean that it was brought, that the Asir Se'efa complete? B'Shachros u Shlema ben Arbayim. Shlema b'Shachros. Uvatela ben Arbayim. Does it mean he brought an Asir Se'efa complete in the morning and a complete one in the afternoon? Or was only brought complete in the morning and the afternoon one was bottled? Should be Pasha T'chsiv Minchas Tamid Shloishas Lugin. That the daily mincha offering needed 3 lug of oil that was mixed with the flour. Mine Shloishas Lugin Shachris Did he need 3 log in the morning, 3 log in the afternoon? Or 1.5 in the morning, 1.5 in the afternoon? Well, why don't you ask about the two kmitzas? You bring mayim shnei koimtzim b'shachos shnei koimtzim ben arbayim. You bring 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, or koimtzim tzachas b'shachos koimtzim tzachas ben arbayim, or maybe 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I don't know if you saw klum lamdu lekoimes. Where do they, in fact, learn the whole din of kmitzah? Lo minchas chote. They learn it from a sinner who brings a minchas chote, like we talked about, a sliding scale mincha, where if you were tummy, you didn't know that you were tummy, you walked to the base of Mikdash. If you're wealthy, you bring an animal. If you're less wealthy, you bring birds. If you're the dali shalodalus, you bring a mincha. So malal shnei koimtzim, there you do 2 kmitzas. Avkan shnei koimtzim. So here as well you should do 2. Amar Chizkiah, klum lam nishloshis lugim. Where did you learn the din of 3 lugim? Lomi tamid shel ben arbayim, from the offering of the tamid of the day, the daily afternoon offering. Malal nishloshis lugim, avkan shloshis lugim. So just over there, the afternoon needed a full 3 lugim here as well. So here it requires the same requirement. We said that if they use the poraduma, there would be no me'ila. Or there shouldn't have been me'ila, because once you burn the poraduma, the mitzvah has been done, meal is removed. But ve'hein gazru shelo yimalu bo. But the Chachamim made a gzeira that you should not be moil. Ayvatani chatas, alamit shemoil emba. By a chatas, you are moil with a chatas even after it's been offered. Ba moilim, but ve'en one be'efar, but not with the ashes. So Rav Avo explains, B'rishoyna yu mishtak sheshkin ba. They would crumble it, and they would place it for noisos al gabi makosayim. They thought that there was very special, sort of magical powers with the for the paraduma. They would use it to try to treat their wounds. So to prevent the Kohanim Gadol from doing that, gazru shimalubo. They made a gzera that it's your meal if you do it. Even shegadru gazru shlimalubo. So the Kohanim stayed away from doing it. The Bezdin went back and they removed the gzera. Then we said if you found money between the box for this box and that box, so we talked about kinyan. So if you find money between the kinyan and something else, so we said you put it into the something else. Well, then how will the women get kapara? They put the money in the box to get their kapara. Aisha Zobamahi miskaperes. How will she get atonement? Honor Yizaknai Bezanu, that if the bird flies away, the Mesapik Sakinin, the vendor that was contracted to provide the birds to fulfill these korbanos, who Mesapik is absolute, he would take care of those that either became puzzled or were lost. Hadanach Perk Moshe Nimsu, Hadanach Perk Moshe Nimsu. So tomorrow night, we'll learn regular time, 8:00, and we have 1 blot left. 1 blot left. Should be fine.
1.5. No?
Not really. It's a little few lines on the next blot.
Okay. All
Just
right.
1 blot. Tonight we learn the Navi Shir again, 8:00. So make sure you send out an announcement that we're starting the Navi Shir.
Okay.
Okay.